Got it. Live stream. Ooh, sick.
Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live.
It's pretty awesome, man.
And looks like we're live.
I'm on YouTube checking as well as we're talking.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, everybody. Hello and welcome back to our third weekly AMA. We're doing this to keep our community engaged and informed about our progress, our plans, and upcoming big announcements. Every week, we are bringing you someone special from PureFi investors or partners that we work with. And this week is the CEO of BlockBank, Kelly De Cruz. Yesterday, our team has released news about a new major partnership that I personally been working on and waiting for it to go live, and finally is official. Our team has been keeping this partnership under our radar since we started exploring the interest of institutional investors and entities from TradFi and their interest in DeFi, and BlockBank is just a perfect partnership for us here. So I'll pass the mic to Kelhe and allow him do a quick intro. Kelhe.
Hey, man. It's awesome to be here, Sasha. Kelger from BlockBank. We've been in talks for a little while now, and to see this finally sort of put the pen on paper and see this go through is good, especially because what you guys are doing on the institutional side. I think it's super important for the success of crypto. Yeah, I really like where this is heading. So how does this work, Sasha?
Well, I mean, this is kind of like a natural and organic conversation. We don't have any structure unless, of course, we will. I'll cover the part where I'll provide our community a bit of an update what happened in the past 1 week and what we have in our plans, roadmap, partnerships, technical development, integrations, and there is one more thing that we do have a set of questions that our community want us to discuss. And I think that we'll chat about that as well organically, or leave that till the end of our AMA. We don't want to make it too long and too boring as well.
Yeah.
So
make it fun and then do some giveaways too, right? I believe.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. I mean, this is more of what our marketing feels about that. But right. So let me start with the updates. So last week announcement was Ethereum and the bridge integration, and that is one of the major technical announcements that our community was asking us to, particularly on the bridge when that will go live, and since the day of the IDO, since basically the day of the inception. So we partner up with Ethereum. Our teams are already working on technical integration, and it's basically the process has started. And once this is done, obviously a bit of ahead of time, we will update everyone on when the actual bridge will go live. There will be a bridge between BSC and Ethereum networks, which will allow users to potentially use their tokens, BEP20 tokens, and go enjoy the attractive farming rewards that we currently have in Ethereum. I mean, is more attractive there than on Binance Smart Chain because of lesser the volume of staked funds right now. So of course users can go and purchase tokens on Uni and go and stake. But when we launch the bridge, it becomes obviously it allows users to just migrate.
Yeah, Ian's got some pretty innovative things under his belt.
Yep. And I like that they're also working on Solana integration, and we are talking with Solana in parallel about the partnership as well. So this is, our future major technical announcement as well. In the meantime, I've mentioned that we started integration with Ferrum on the bridge. So that will be seamlessly integrated into our dashboard. It's not going to be a separate, web portal that the users have to go on premises of Ferrum. Is actually going to be on our premises, which is great and will be a frictionless experience. Secondly, another major technical announcement is that we are also in the process of integrating on Polygon Matic.
Nice.
So, and again, this conversation, this topic particularly connected with Ferrum as well, because within their bridge they already have Matic integrated. So with one partnership, we'll get to benefit from already existing connections that they have, integrations, I mean. And so right now we're working closely with Matic team that, by the way, they're great people. They introduced us to a number of dexes on Polygon, which we are considering. We're picking who we're gonna collaborate with and launch pairs, and probably a few other partnerships ahead of time. So before we launch, we will sign a few partnerships with a few projects that could provide farming incentives for our users in that ecosystem as well. So that's great. I don't have
Hush Hush who you're working with? Is it Hush Hush who you're working with?
We're working with an entire team. Johan's been great. The rest of the team is, actually, I'm surprised how friendly and great the connection with them is.
Yeah, there's a lot of gems working in the crypto space right now. Everyone's out just to help each other, which I think is amazing. In order for this to work, everyone needs to work together, right? And
I totally agree.
All the partnerships that are being formed, everyone, giving their resources to projects like, for example, like yours, they're all willing to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly, yes. I mean, some of the projects, without naming names, I mean, they're too big and too kind of like too negligent to a smaller guys. But of course, depending on what we're discussing. Right. So we covered the technical part. Also, what is important is that next week we will be updating our farming dashboard, because this will be an end of our monthly farming campaigns. So we are reevaluating how many tokens we managed to kind of attract from our users into farming, and we'll revise and update our incentives, our APY rewards for our users. We also, this is going to be like something unique and very, very attractive, because I don't want to say too much, but this will incentivize the users who will get the second batch of tokens unlocked by end of next week from the IDO platforms to have a very good reason to go and farm and stake instead of potentially just, selling to the open market. And again, this is a limited, like this whole farming campaign will be going live until we release our product. So we will let our users to kind of interact with the product rather than just, buy and sell tokens for speculative reasons, but actually farm and stake and be with us at least until you see the product and start utilizing it. That's the goal.
These are for private investors, right? The private investors, or
private investors are there with us on a very long mission. They're with us for at least 2 years. I'm talking more of a retail investors that came in through public sale on IDO platforms. So those are more of the retail users that obviously are, they want to see, fun stuff happening in DeFi space. So, they participate many projects, and we're working hard to actually provide them a good reason to stay with us for a long ride. What else we have? So I think our community is really eager to hear about centralized exchange listings, and that's being, everyone's kind of like major dream at night, to see PureFi being listed on centralized exchanges. And I have to say it was mine as well, but we cannot tell you who that will be because we're in talks with a number of reputable names with proven to have good liquidity and good volumes.
The listing process is fun though. It's very interesting. It doesn't happen just like that. It's a long process, which is
good thing.
Good.
The good thing is this is not the first project that I'm involved, and we got the support and the backing of very big reputable VC funds, who also happily sharing the network with us and pulling the strings where we need. So that's great. And knowing that centralized exchanges usually require certain criteria to be met, we are working on those. And ahead of time, we already prepared the legal opinion from a law firm. So we're kind of like prepared. The only thing is that we're working right now on seeing who should we go first. And honestly, I think I can confidently say that a centralized exchange listing will go live before the launch of our beta. I think that would be a fair statement to make without giving an exact date, but that's within the next month or two. That's what we're working on right now. Now I think I've provided some of the very interesting updates. Hopefully the community gets excited and starts stocking up. and actually
I said the smart ones will.
Yeah, the smart ones will, exactly. And this is why we're providing that feedback for the community to kind of understand that now is it's just the beginning of our journey.
Yeah, that man. This is a hold game. This is not a buy and sell game.
Absolutely.
And those are the ones who's going to make the most out of it. The ones who will buy and hold, right? And there's also a reason why they buy and sell fairly quickly. The people who do that. I believe it's a simple thing of lack of knowledge on the trading side, lack of knowledge on the potential of the project. So it's our duty to sort of get the word out there on how the projects are going and show them the potential of what we are actually doing. Because I'm sure, just like you, we are pulling like 16, 17 hours a day, just development, partnerships, nonstop meetings. My team is actually in Turkey right now, sitting down with a whole bunch of people in meetings all day.
Yeah, Turkey is a very active market.
It's massive. It's a very understated market, actually. But it's hard to show this to the world, right? Because a lot of the meetings are like they're pretty much all hush hush. Yeah. But
I mean, we were kind of. I mean, I totally agree with you. More and more people, you see retail users being there for a quick buck, to flip the tokens if they get a chance, and then jump into another IDO or a raise or another opportunity. But I think we were fortunate actually to kind of have quite qualified community backing us. It's growing, but
Olga's from Turkey. Hey, Tolga. I'm giving you a shout out. Sorry, I'm reading the comments. Some people deserve a shout out. And Turkey does.
Yeah, we actually have a quite good amount of people from Turkey in our group. That's been great. We had the support of KOLs, like influencers, who are covering the Turkish market. That opened up PureFi for that market, which is great. we're working also very hard together with a few VCs and a few agencies for increasing our presence in Asia, in particularly China, Korea. I mean, China, not China mainland, obviously, but the Chinese investors who want to get exposure in the Western projects. Korea is a big market. Thailand, Vietnam are also like big players. So generally, Asia as well is a big game for us. And so anyway, we can talk for ages about that. What I wanted to kind of focus on this AMA session, is to kind of explain to our community what the partnership between BlockBank and PureFi is really about. First of all, it's not a partnership, kind of like an announcement for the sake of an announcement. Definitely not that. And I mean, you would agree that PureFi doesn't really do that. Or
I think we need to do that.
Yeah. So I mean, BlockBank. So I'll let Kelly explain what's the nature of business you guys are at,
Yes.
and we'll explain what is the nature of collaboration.
Yeah, I'm going to actually start a bit way back from when I actually got into crypto because of my co-founder, Darren. He was originally meant to be here, but he's still on the meeting in Turkey.
We forgot to mention exactly to our community, we announced it's going to be Darren, but then Darren couldn't make it because he's in Turkey, but we got a fair replacement of a CEO of the project.
So Darren actually got me into crypto back in 2012, just mining in my basement. We were selling Dogecoin on eBay. I still have receipts for that. I stand by it. And I look at those prices that I sold it at. And I'm like, yeah, I should have just held, man. So these are all learnings, Don't buy and sell, buy and hold. That's it. Along the way, you learn these things. I've seen the ups and downs of crypto, government motivated downs, and then it just keeps coming back harder and stronger, and I think we saw this big rush or big run fueled by COVID. I would say it was mostly fueled by COVID because people were looking for, for something to do, and crypto was there. And I think we're in the markets because of COVID. So it does have its ups and downs. So yeah, I've been in crypto since 2012, but what sort of got me on this journey was, on BlockBank's journey was, I kept finding it hard to get involved and just buy and get the right advice and just pay for crypto, man. Like buying crypto with a credit card is so hard. It still is today. So when I first originally started with BlockBank, it was under a different name. The concept was under a different name. It was the bull run of 2018. I was like, okay, cool. We've got an opportunity. I come from a software and education background. So the education side of me was like, okay, we need to help educate people. The software side of me was like, okay, we can develop something to help educate people, give them the tools and resources that's going to make crypto more accessible and more simple. So essentially, when I started this journey back in 2017 for BlockBank, I'd say that's the inception days. 2017, 2018, it was, okay, we have access to technology and the education components. Let's look at doing a fundraise to sort of build this whole thing out. Then by the time we sort of decided to do that, it was the bear markets and no one was investing in projects. So I'm like, okay, you know what, forget it. But I still believed in what we were doing. So I put in my funds into now it's called BlockBank. I put in my own personal funds into there and started development during the bear markets. So released, not this Goliath of an app, but small app wallet that did a few things and then started growing based on user, user inputs. Yeah, like, hey, this would be cool. That'd be cool. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it. So initially it started off with, oh my God, I want to build something that I want to use and my friends can use and my parents can use and stuff like that. But it just grew into this, this really cool application that became this tool belt for crypto. And then Darren and Anna, my co-founders, each one bringing something very unique to the table. For example, Anastasia, with her legal and sort of regulatory background, was like, okay, we can, if we're able to bridge the gap successfully between banking and cryptocurrencies, that's going to be a bit of a game changer. We also realize that, we can't just be screw the banks or screw regulations, because in order for this to work, again, I keep coming back to, in order for this to work, we need to work together, like whether it be regulatory side or the banking side. We need to comply with regulations, right? You can do it for short term, and then
like it or not, this is kind of like inevitable. I mean, probably all the crypto anarchists will be fuming right now, but I mean,
that's the I know, that's the way. That's when I first started. Like, okay, screw the banks, whatever, blah blah blah. Bitcoin needs to be sort of for the people, by the people. It still is, but there's just a framework that we need to operate within.
Unfortunately, like it or not.
Like it or not, yeah.
And I mean, we're on the. I think like one of the previous calls that we had with Darren and Anastasia is that we clicked on both of us agreeing that if crypto wants to kind of come up out of the niche where only 3% of the population in the world currently using it, or enjoying the benefits. So we're talking about true mass adoption. And when we talk about true mass adoption, the bridge between traditional finance, everything that happening in Wall Street, pension funds, hedge funds, everything to do with fiat, kind of has to, be enabled to participate in what we do in DeFi. Right now is a DeFi. That's what really excites me. But before it was crypto, and so the bigger goal, the long-term goal, is to really facilitate mass adoption. And in order to do that, in order for DeFi and crypto to be kind of like inclusive in the whole global framework of finance, whether we like it or not, but it's just kind of inevitable in our reality that there has to be a certain compliance tools in order for institutionals to kind of really come in with with the big money. With the big money, exactly.
And that's what you guys are doing, which is amazing. You're enabling that bridge into DeFi, right?
So for example, is you.
So for example, just to give you an idea of what BlockBank is all about, we're essentially 4 pillars. We're cryptocurrency. So we're cryptocurrency. We're centralized and decentralized. We're offering both platforms to our users. The third pillar is the banking side, traditional banking products that we're offering. And then the third is the robo advisor. So a digital assistant that's there to help people understand, first of all, understand cryptocurrency, and then take them through that education cycle of, okay, let's start slowly purchasing crypto, right? So like it's an educational thing. So teach them about crypto, finances, teach them how to accumulate and then grow their wealth, right? And then in the background, it basically monitors. So on the robo advisor side, it monitors what's happening on the market, monitors the news, monitors social media, looks at exchange data. This stuff is not hard to find. It's just that you don't have enough time to analyze every single data point and come up with, okay, maybe it might be a good investment. And if it's a good investment, let's put in a strategy into that investment so that you don't get burned by the market. Right. So that's essentially a little bit of a very high level of what the robo advisor actually does. So it's, if you think of it like a baby walking and going to a toddler and to an adult life, that's essentially what we're doing. I was in El Salvador actually for a month last month.
Interesting.
Because they've legalized Bitcoin as a tender. They made, literally yesterday they came out with the some regulatory points, which we're going over actually right after this call, as to what's going to happen with that. I believe September 7th is still the deadline for El Salvador. But what they're doing, for example, is they're looking to bring on the majority of the population that is unbanked and giving them the tools to be financially included in, in society, moving away from cash. Right. Now you can look at it and say, oh, the motivations are very different. But essentially what they're doing is they've put themselves on the map as one of the first countries to sort of accept Bitcoin as a legal tender, which is good. Now, in order for it to work, there's certain things that need to happen. So that's what we went there to sort of investigate and talk to. I spoke to so many people, man. I was there for a month. I spoke to so many people, like businesses, and, investors, and government bodies, and they're all excited. I was super surprised to say, yeah, man, we're ready for this.
They're all very switched on, and they know where they want to get with becoming, Bitcoin becoming their legal tender. And I don't know how the community, if our community realizes how important is that. I mean, I'm sure we both of us do, but like, what's the little small example of El Salvador legalizing, Bitcoin as, making it a legal tender? It's a small baby step, but it's kind of like a major step, kind of like it's the Neil Armstrong's quote, right? It's a small step for a human,
step but man, a big step.
A big step for humanity. So what it does for the entire crypto space is that it sets the precedent that now, since one of the countries who are kind of regulated by World Bank now accepts Bitcoin as legal tender, so the country can now use that as the official currency to interact with World Bank. And this is setting up not just like an example, it's setting up a precedent that is showing us that like a true mass adoption starting with the baby steps happening, but it's also pointing out the direction for other countries that were exploring doing that, the bigger countries that want to see the first mover example, and then to see what mistakes they do and kind of like try to avoid them. So I think this is definitely great. I didn't know you were in El Salvador.
Yeah, I was there for a month, man. I was talking to people in the streets. I was talking to everyone, taxi drivers. And I was actually surprised that they're like, yeah, we're open to this. We're not fighting. We would like it.
But what do you think? I mean, this is on a larger macroeconomic scale. In general, how all the financial organizations are viewing cryptocurrency as a financial instrument. What is really exciting for both of us is what's happening obviously within the DeFi space, which is already kind of I think I won't be wrong calling it the Wild West right now. But it's starting to become a bit more within the understandable certain frameworks where already regulators are already finding ways how to regulate it. And I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying I personally like it, but we at PureFi, as well as you at BlockBank, understand that this is inevitable. So certain issues within the space, like money laundering and avoiding taxes and all of that stuff, and not really keeping an eye on who you're working with through the sort of through KYC and maintaining the sanction list, all of that stuff. That brought negative attention to DeFi and generally started to attract all the regulators knocking on every big major project's door. And what is great for us, at least for what we do and for where we are heading with PureFi and with BlockBank together, is what really excites me is that a few months ago there was an article that Aave, one of the giants in the DeFi space, TVL wise, I think they're easily top 3. I haven't checked for a while, but I think they're top 3 in terms of TVL size. So they released kind of like I wouldn't call it a sandbox, but I think they released the first institutional grade liquidity pool with AML and KYC. The only difference with the traditional finance is that people would want to see no custody services in a DeFi space. But of course, in order for two systems to merge, I think they come up with the right strategy for now. And they're like, an example that Aave is setting. It's not really an example, but it is a precedent that it's a precedent that a major DeFi player like that starts working towards being able to onboard institutional money. For us, this is a start of a trend, and I've been constantly talking about that. And I'm very excited about the partnership with BlockBank because this is pretty much a very similar example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my CFO, Greg, he loves this. He's like, because he comes from a very traditional background of finance. He's had a few broker dealers in his life, and he stays very up to date with what's happening on the regulatory side of things. And I get tidbits of it every day because he's in the next office behind me. It's coming. It's just a matter of fact of when. And when you see companies like Aave jumping to sort of be compliant, or in what their mind compliance is with what the current standards are on the traditional side, they're implementing those strategies to sort of, when it happens, it's just a flick of the switch saying, yeah, we're compliant, right? Because they're the ones that are gonna get nailed down, right? It's not the people who are trading. Right? It's the platforms, I believe, that it's going to come down to. And you can't be anonymous. Literally, you can't. Because if you want to get scammed, go work with an anonymous project.
No, the anonymity is, I think, is an important element for maintaining decentralization.
Yeah.
And this is something that we actually emphasize at PureFi. Like as soon as we started releasing news about the project idea and the concept that we're working, we started being, bombarded with all the people that are like, no way, like DeFi doesn't need compliance. This is kind of like, these things don't go together. Or like, you can't do KYC because it kind of breaks the principle of decentralization.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you something. We already agreed that, right, on one of the previous points, that in order for true mass adoption to happen, there should be certain compliance in place. And compliance does not necessarily mean that you need to, like me or you personally, need to go through the KYC onboarding, and your information will remain publicly available on chain. And this is something that we are very carefully bearing in mind, and we are implementing a zero-proof knowledge based on ZK snarks, which is beautiful, which allows you to kind of prove that you are not American, for example, and you're above 18, or you're not from one of the sanction list countries, without really exposing passport information. Just the beauty of architecture. However, of course, if you want to interact with, a compliant entities, like for example, if you want to participate in that pool at Aave, or if you want to participate in a sandbox that we will be building together, and we'll talk a bit more details just shortly. It's like with centralized exchanges. First of all, I mean, if you want to be interacting in a safe place, they have to know who you are, because I mean, people like regulators will come and start knocking on their door, and then they will start knocking on your door. And it's essentially, and it's like this chain of knocking on people's doors if they don't comply. And the good thing is right now, also, I think what is important to mention in the KYC space is that not many people yet recognize the importance of self-sovereign identity and all that complicated architecture along the digital identifiers and SSI architecture. So that is something that is an inevitable and with very required element in our transition from Web 2 to Web 3.
Correct.
And until now is not yet too sexy for commercial organizations to kind of, there is no hype around SSI technology.
It's early in the life cycle.
Yeah.
Give it a little bit of time, and then
Exactly.
Digital sovereignty, digital ID.
Yeah, exactly. But we're working on that ahead of time, so that will enable people who are, who have nothing to hide, legitimate, and just want to utilize a better financial infrastructure for, profits, and still want to be able to interact, and buy a Lamborghini in the real life with fiat money officially.
Yeah,
that's kind of like there is a need for that.
That's where we're heading. That's the direction that we're heading. And that's actually why we're working together, because you guys are simplifying that whole process for companies like us, right? We're not trying to reinvent what's out there. There's no point in what other companies are sort of innovating to do. The best form is a partnership form. So that's essentially what makes PureFi and BlockBank work. I
agree. So I will just add, or if you want to, explain briefly what's the, a part of our token will be integrated into a BlockBank wallet
today.
And
it was just integrated today.
It was just integrated today.
Waiting for this. Yeah, it should be live today. The Apple Store takes a couple of days for it to sort of publish, but it's live on the Google Store. So.
But then also your users will be able to buy the token directly from your app as well, which is
so right now we've got a Uniswap integration, so people can actually trade directly on the app. Super simple. When you want to trade, one click. On Uniswap and Pancake as well, actually.
So perfect.
Yeah, we've got the Web3 portal in there too. So not just that, we've got other functions on there.
Nice one. But like the what really makes me excited about this partnership is that we agreed with the BlockBank to start working on helping BlockBank to create a sandbox for what we just discussed, for providing CeFi organizations services in DeFi space, which is essentially basically working on bridging those two worlds together, and where PureFi will be enabled once our beta is live in the next, I hope to really see it live in the next 2 months. I hope we can finish it sooner, to be honest with you. I would be very excited about that. But anyway, once the beta will be live, the sandbox that BlockBank is creating will enable us to test and to polish our services while filtering the funds that are coming in, essentially acting as a filter of high-risk assets. And also through our partnerships with KYC providers, we'll be able to also be kind of like a gatekeeper for onboarding users and entities into that sandbox. This is exciting.
Yeah, the big institutional investors too. It's very hard to. It's not very hard. It's cumbersome to sort of keep track of where the funds are coming from, right? And what you guys are doing sort of makes that a little bit easier. Makes that a lot easier actually for us to keep. But it's not only from when funds come in. It's keeping track of those funds throughout. Not those funds, but what's happening in the background, right? It's not just a one-time thing. To get that
absolutely
update. Yeah,
absolutely. I think actually it looks like we're already chatting for 40 minutes.
Oh my god.
Wow. I know this usually, I can chat about that for hours, but let's jump into it.
Yeah, so this is passion, mate. This is not a job.
Yeah. Exactly.
I can work 17, 18, 20 hours a day on this. I wouldn't call it work, man. That's the thing.
Yeah, I have to sometimes explain this to my family and my girlfriend. This is actually a job, like all this 11 p.m. midnight calls. Yeah. Actually, chatting and having fun, but discussing the way forward.
Read these comments are so tiny on here.
Yeah, no worries. We've gathered them. My team has gathered them for simplicity, and let me just go through. So one of the questions that I personally liked from Twitter was, why did you, I mean, that's the questions for BlockBank,
Okay.
right?
Good.
Why did you come up with this kind of a project? I think you answered already that. What would be your main purpose aside of generating income? I think we've touched base that, you know, we're here. I mean, you can answer that, but I assume the answer would be working on mainstream adoption on the bigger
Yeah,
roles.
there's one more component that I sort of didn't mention, but I think this is the right time to talk about it, which is more along the lines of why did I come up with the project or this kind of project and the purpose of it. So with things like my education and software background, it was developing a technology that was like, for example, like the robo-advisor to help people understand crypto and finances. But for me personally, my target audience is developing countries, right? I feel developing countries are going to skip a whole generation from the learning curve, right? Or the risks, because now they have access to technology through their phone, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
creating a solution or a platform that gives them financial education as to how to develop their wealth for the long term. That was actually my motivation for starting this. You know, giving them the tools necessary to sort of, again, to my point, what intrigued me about El Salvador is I can be a part of this whole journey to sort of help with the financial inclusion and financial literacy of a whole country, man. This is more of that is more of a passion thing than a business deal. My business partners would say otherwise, but for me, that was because the wealth what we're doing now is the wealth is not going to lie with us. It's going to lie in the future generation. I think people are missing that, right? So my kids are the ones who are going to be able to use the technology for them to have a better life, right? That was my motivation and purpose. So I'm reading the rest of the questions.
Nice one, nice one. Another question that was on my list: how BlockBank and PureFi working together, and what will be the main steps of your mutual products and integrations? I think in the last 5 minutes we've answered that. Yeah, actually, like multiple times we went through this. Now, a good question for you, Kale. Tell me more about your token utility function at BlockBank.
Yeah, so I think we need more than an hour to talk about just that alone.
But quickly touching, obviously, yeah.
So basically, I'd say for me, the main priority or the main usage of the utility token is to gain access to the robo-advisor, right? So to utilize certain functions of the robo-advisor, whether it be to learn about crypto or execute trades, you need the token to be able to do that, right? So that's just one. And then on the banking side, you'd require X amount of tokens to have a certain card that we plan to offer in the next. I'm not going to say much, but yeah, a card that we plan to offer in the near future.
Nice one. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can read about token utility at the BlockBank's website.
Yeah,
it's available. Next question was, what's the main idea of Neobank, and what's the global mission you want to achieve? I think we've covered that. You've covered that as well.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, I think. Borderless banking with technology. The old brick and mortar banks are sort of they're changing, and the banks that are not adapting to newer technology, I think they're going to be left behind, especially with what, like, for example, what we're doing, right? You're not going to need to go to a bank anymore.
Yeah. I don't go to a bank anymore for a good few years right now. Very proud and very happy about that.
Man, some of these banking terminals, I don't know if you've seen it, but some of the banking terminals are still like code line. I'm like, how is this?
I don't know.
Big bank.
I don't know. I lived in multiple countries, and I since I was a teenager and went to study abroad, and going back in time, every time I had a bank card and a bank account, every time it was like a negative experience. Any country. I lived in UAE for 8 years.
Oh shit.
I lived in Ukraine recently for the past 2 years. Previously lived in Europe. everywhere. The banking was terrible. They're just creating you a problem. Like
the EU is pretty advanced though. And I think the EU is actually very advanced in the sense of giving neobanks a framework to operate within.
Ukraine as well. I'll be honest with you. The banks in Ukraine are ahead of what's going on in Europe in general. UAE is good, but I'm just talking about bureaucracy. Just talking through all of that bureaucratic stuff that drains you and takes you time, and you can't get a simple thing done. With neobank, within just few clicks, you get things done. I mean, how amazing is that?
Okay, so just a little bit of tad bit of information. A lot of people still don't understand how credit cards work, or the amount of transactions or points that the money actually goes through to get from you to me. It's insane.
Oh, yes.
Client to a merchant, there's about like 20 different touch points. It does not make sense. You know,
or if I want to send you money now from my, let's say, a Ukrainian card to your Canadian card, there is probably around 5 intermediaries and correspondent banks, and generally it takes 3 to 5 business days. Costs you like a lot of time to initiate. It's not frictionless, and it goes through 7 different kind of like entities before it reaches you.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think we'll get to that point in digital assets and cryptocurrencies, for example, that people won't. But yeah, whatever, it works. I send you money, you get it. They don't. The blockchain word will sort of slowly disappear in the past, like disappear as we move forward. Because otherwise, people will be like, "Wait a minute, credit card. That's the way credit card operates. This doesn't make sense."
It's like, you know, in 2000, in beginning of like when the internet started to really go like through mainstream adoption, Web 2 era.
Web 1
used to like, I sent you a message on internet. You know, like now nobody say like, I sent you a message on internet. Everyone understands that it's going to happen, and that's exactly what's going to happen with the world blockchain eventually. I think, like you said.
We're still in dial-up mode, I think, for blockchain.
Yeah. Since you mentioned about credit cards, we have a question about people read that BlockBank will have a credit and debit card for its users. Could you explain a bit more about it, especially potential legal issues here?
I'm not sure what that question is on the legal issues. Obviously, you can't offer a credit card without being compliant. And
no, I mean probably like legal hurdles, not issues.
Oh, the hurdles are basically getting all your documentation in a row, right? You can't just say, "Hey, I want to do this," and it happens. No, there's a process you got to follow. You got to have the right regulatory documentation requirements. Your AML, KYC policies, and blah, blah, blah. Greg loves this shit, and Anna too. Essentially what we're doing is we're attacking it one step at a time geographically. You can't just say everyone gets a credit card, right? So we're in the process of finalizing licenses and acquiring licenses in different parts of the world to give those users in those areas access to a debit credit card where we have the cryptocurrency side on the back end that's able to top up and vice versa. But yeah, that's essentially the banking component of BlockBank.
Yeah.
So soon, I'm not going to say when, but soon.
And that will be probably like an actual bank card attached to a like person's wallet within the BlockBank with crypto, where you can go and buy anything.
Not crypto. So basically, they'll have crypto in their custodial wallet, and they'd be able to transfer it over to sort of top up on whatever currency that they're in that country, to utilize that card at any location. Right.
I like that.
Yeah. That's the benefit of sort of bridging the gap between the banking and the crypto side. You're able to achieve this in a more efficient and timely manner. Right?
Nice.
Yeah, it's a process that's going to take, it's a process that's going to take some time depending on where the user is sitting.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you will be targeting the major kind of like crypto-friendly jurisdictions first, and then opening up to third world countries, developing regions,
You'd be amazed. I'm not going to say anything, but
or vice versa.
some of the countries that want to work with us is kind of interesting. Like we're talking, yeah, I'm not saying too much. I'm gonna get a message from Anna in like 2 seconds saying, "Can you not talk about legal stuff? I'm not there."
Stop.
That's the benefit of having a lawyer as a partner and on the team. So
yeah, that's important. That's really important.
Yeah.
All right, so we've covered the Twitter sections without taking it again too much of anyone's time, especially without also trying to make it, informative and fun for whoever is viewing us.
Oh my God, that's a lot of questions.
Live questions that we see from the live chat. Will BlockBank have any in-chat gamification features on the app soon?
Yes and yes. In order for the app to be successful, we need to keep people engaged, whether it be them being able to communicate with their friends and transfer funds directly on the app to their friend contact list. Absolutely. Gamification, it's boring otherwise, man. You need to make it fun. Supervising and yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, for real, absolutely. And then I start seeing the questions that are kind of mixed up for PureFi and for BlockBank.
Let's see some PureFi questions.
How to achieve the goal of low risk DeFi? What do you offer to ensure that DeFi? Well, I mean, it's kind of like, the wording, it might be a bit off the topic, but I understand the question, and it's kind of like, how do we bring in that, de-risking element for institutions to interact with DeFi? So quickly touching on the point that I raised before, that giants like Aave and Compound already started working along the lines of integrating compliance tools. And we are personally in touch. I'm personally talking with a number of major DEXs that 6 months ago were just telling us, we don't want to be compliant. We don't need that. We're a smart contract. Now the narrative changed. Now they want to, be checking and verifying who they're operating with, what liquidity comes in their pools. Is there any politically exposed people they're working with, or things like that already started to become like a big priority for them. And this is just because we constantly hear on daily or probably weekly basis that regulators are coming up with new regulations or like new ideas, or the narrative about DeFi is always their priority, and it's just a matter of time. That being said, we talk with, the partnership with BlockBank is important because this is a first of a kind partnership for us, where we will actually be partnering up with a large entity that facilitates CeFi and DeFi transactions, where PureFi could act and provide its core service. We already signed the partnership with a bridge provider, and bridges, as well as DEXs and liquidity pool operators, are an important element in the whole ecosystem, because it's essentially, if the hacked funds were stolen, like what happened last week with 600 million, bridges need to have that integrated feature to filter that liquidity if it was flagged as high risk. And once it's being stolen, it's definitely high risk. So bridges is it's done. DEXs, farming protocols as well. So the more we work on our partnerships, the more we see that we're doing the right thing. And it actually becomes kind of like on top of everyone's mind to start working towards operating with just low risk assets. And
to that point, even though if it's kept the data is not exposed, right? So in the sense that we're talking about being compliant, we're not saying we're fucking publicly sharing this shit. it shows that the company's taking initiatives to sort of stick around for the long term, man. They care about what happens in the long term. They want to be a part of it, and they're taking the steps in order to sort of be in that compliant circle, which I think is super important, because otherwise you're going to get these pop-up shops coming up, scamming people, and then disappearing.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
So
no, absolutely.
it goes two ways. Companies need to do this if they want to be in it long term. The users, they need to want to see this happen, because otherwise that low risk DeFi line is not low risk. It's super high risk because there's no accountability.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll get one. I'll answer one more PureFi question, and then I see one good BlockBank question. I think it's not spot on, but I think it's a good one. Where was that? Hey guys, we both agreed on long-term HODL strategy. Is PureFi exchange has liquidity pool and anything earning any platform for long-term holders? Well, first of all, PureFi doesn't have an exchange, and I don't think we even have that idea for the time being. Although we've discussed that internally, there could be a point in time in the future when the product is fully live, we could potentially look into opening up our own exchange. But for now, we have farming live and active for token holders in ERC20 token holders, so basically in Ethereum, and BEP20 in BSC. So if you want to go and buy tokens on Uni or Pancake, you have the opportunity to go and stake them and earn APY. And that's the basic utility for now. When the beta platform will be live, we're talking with a very cool project, and I'm really also, kind of excited about partnering up with them in the future. But they're providing a very, very complicated tech, and I'm kind of still not sure whether we can implement it in a beta. But if we can, that will provide a very complex and great monetization tools for PureFi service. And then when we launch the beta and the MVP, not just farming and staking will be live. People could stake tokens and provide them and lend them for the ones who want to borrow tokens for the sake of utilizing PureFi service. And obviously people will be incentivized more from that. So again, go read our Medium articles and wait until we release our product. It's going to be some exciting stuff. The BlockBank
really
question.
Man. I must say, I'm super impressed by the community's questions.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, people really ask, it's not just like when Lambo went to the moon,
I know. When exchange.
Yeah, well, that's, I'm telling you, when centralized exchange listing, this is what really people want to know and to see happen.
Okay.
BlockBank question. BlockBank network employs bank enhanced with artificial intelligence wizard, which is similar to other blockchain projects. What distinguishes BlockBank, which has been enhanced with artificial intelligence, from other blockchain projects?
Yeah, that's
allow you to shine.
It's the same thing as saying, hey, there can only be one bank in the world, right? So there possibly are a couple of different other projects that are fairly similar or have similar traits to what we are doing, but essentially, dude, we're talking about the world here. The population is so massive that we need more competition, I'd say, in order for us to stay competitive. Right? It's as simple as that. I don't even see them as competition. I see them as enablers for growing the whole crypto ecosystem. So yeah, that's my answer. Yeah.
Good one. I think we have the last question. We need to pick 5 questions. I think we did 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'll pick the last one. Or if you want, you can pick the last one. We're looking pretty much the same document.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm looking this at, you're looking straight. So people might be like, what is this guy looking at? Okay, here, yeah, marketing is an important factor for every project. What is your strategy to attract new users, investors to your platform, and keep them long term? I think we should both answer this. So I'd like to know what
Yes, yes.
you're doing, and then BlockBank will be next.
All right. So, I mean, we are, first of all, very fortunate to have some very smart marketing people in our team that work day and night to make sure that our community is growing. I mean, look at the numbers in the community right now. Recently, only through an airdrop with CoinMarketCap, through the partnership with CoinMarketCap, we did an airdrop of a very insignificant amount of tokens, and that resulted into a spike about 15,000 new users. I'm not saying that I like airdrops, but I'm saying that right now the work that we do requires us to increase our amount of token holders. That is also very important when we are talking with the major centralized exchanges. They want to see a big amount of token holders and an active community. For me, I'm not a person that likes to focus only on marketing, although I'm very satisfied with what the marketing team is doing. I think the marketing has to go in line, hand in hand with business development, which is what I'm doing. We are working heavily and really focusing on not just creating an announcements for the sake of an announcements to build up the hype, but we are working very hard on building up the pipeline of significant partnerships where we provide the value through that partnership, we provide the value for both communities. And when we do that, that's when we increase our organic inflow of users, and also people want to, as a result, hoping that people would want to buy our token. So I think I covered that from our side.
Yes, you did. That was very nicely put, man.
Thank you.
I echo that. Even though our audience, I would say, so it's 2 different audiences. One is a token audience who like the token and they like the token play, and they're buying it to increase value, whatever it may be. I don't know, I stay away from that. My whole strategy is offering a unique solution to our users and being innovative to keep ahead of the game, to keep it more simple for users to actually utilize. So on a platform, for example, and a simpler solution that's out there to buy crypto, for example, something so silly as that. To keep updating, to keep things fresh and new, and that's my goal, right? Not to stagnate on, okay, it's here now. Good luck. My job's done. I delivered on my project. No, you got to keep developing. You got to keep getting the word out there, man. And things like this, these AMAs, these one-on-ones with people. Like I take time out to even talk to some of my people on Telegram individually, one-on-one, just to get into their mindset. Right? It's not mass marketing. It's basically understanding the user and what they want to see. And sometimes I get like, oh, are you going to ask me for Bitcoin now? Because they think it's the fake Kelge on Telegram. No, it's not. Look me up, it's the real Kelge. But it's listening to your community to see what they want, to see if what you're doing is in line to, a set of people that sort of are very active in the space. So things like that, man. Just being in touch with your community is a massive marketing tool on its own.
Yeah. I think one more addition to that is doing dev, doing customer development, keeping an ear on the ground and trying to understand what the market really needs. is important. I mean, cost dev is the whole kind of like whole new separate topic that we can talk for hours, because it's separate like science. But it's important, and if you're doing something that resonates with what market needs, creating new partnerships becomes easy.
Yeah.
And it's not just kind of like you need to convince people doing one thing or another. It just becomes easy when you're kind of like working on partnerships with projects that recognize what you do. And I think that's important. So kind of like staying relevant is also very important. So that would increase the results of any marketing campaign. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. And I think the benefit of like us is that we can, if something's not working, we can address it and fix it right away. Right. That's the whole benefit of being sort of similar, like still in a startup phase, I would say. I don't think we are, because I've been around. BlockBank's been around for like 3.5 years now. So I still I classify myself as a startup. Anyway, we've been around for a while. We're able to sort of pivot according to what the market is and respond fast.
Exactly. You see, that's only by keeping it agile and flexible, you kind of like you pivot in the right way.
Yeah.
And
Up the game too, man. All right. I love this.
This was
chatting for an hour.
yeah, a little bit over an hour. But Kelly, this is all for today. Thank you very much for joining us and having this and spending the time on of a day to provide all that information for our community and for this chat. Really exciting, much appreciated.
Looking forward to actually finishing all the integration side and being ready for the beta in less than 2 months, hopefully.
Yeah, that's where the exciting part starts, really, for me. That's where it is.
Likewise, my friend. Thank you very much for your Sasha. So who gets $100, you or me?
the community whose answers questions we picked.
I love it. Amazing, great 1 hour, man. Thank you very much.
And thanks everyone for joining.
Hey, wait, hold on a second. I want to actually take a picture. You can't do this live anymore, right?
Nice. All right. You have a nice day, buddy.
Community, thank you very much for joining us on this 1 hour chat. Take care.